Okay, now we're going to go off in a bit of a different direction with our vibrato. We've looked at that sort of melodic, sweet style of Eric Clapton, John Mayer. We've looked at the kind of rapid style, but sort of warm, upbeat blues vibrato of B.B. King. Now we're going to go into much heavier territory and look at the vibrato style of players like Stevie Ray Vaughan, and in a more modern context, Philip Sayce, who is heavily Stevie Ray Vaughan inspired. Now, again, technique-wise, there's a fairly significant departure in a sense based or compared with that fundamental vibrato technique with which we started. And this is because Stevie Ray Vaughan executes his vibrato downwards rather than upwards. So we focused on that rotational movement as follows, like this. But it's sort of focused on moving upwards, vertical with that kind of rotational movement. Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I don't know whether this is the case, but I think it was because he was so heavily influenced by Albert King, who played with his guitar the other way round, but the strings maintained. So he had his high E string, B string, and G string closest to him. And as a result, he bent down and applied vibrato downwards. I think that is where Stevie Ray Vaughan might well have gotten this idea from. And as you will see in the examples in a second, it allows you to create a very muscular, quick, kind of snappy style of vibrato. Because when you're pulling down, you can pull down quicker and with more sort of force than you can push up. Sounds a little bit different. Sounds like this. So it's like a rapid, aggressive movement, and it adds a real sting to the note. Combined with the fact that it's going down, as you might imagine, Stevie Ray Vaughan is often doing this sort of quite wide vibrato and quite quick vibrato. And Philip Sayce has very much followed in those footsteps as well. Philip Sayce, where it's a little easier to find clips of specifically what his hands are doing, he often executes this idea with the first finger pulling down and applying that kind of fast and aggressive vibrato like this. And if you add that onto phrases, as you can imagine, it gives you that real intense kind of blues sound. So if you're into that heavier, more aggressive sound, try and give that a go. Think about pulling down and think about applying wide and fast vibrato. Now, for the Stevie Ray Vaughan fans out there, this is not the only, he's not always applying fast and aggressive vibrato. He has kind of slower songs where there's less movement on the string. But if you think about some of those kind of fast upbeat songs, Crossfire, Testify, those types of things, where it's kind of a punchy beat, often he's applying that. Same for Philip Sayce. If you hear songs like Morning Star, Black Roller Coming, this intense vibrato is a real key defining part of the sound. Now, because we're again making a departure away from that kind of fundamental vibrato technique, break the challenge here down into smaller chunks. Think about first applying or trying downward vibrato, so moving down rather than up. And do it slowly, just to get to grips with the mechanics. Then try and make that a little bit wider. And then think about making it a little bit faster. And you can kind of ramp up to it like that. You have to be a little bit careful because obviously this is not a technique you can apply on every string. I've used the G string kind of for a reason there, because there is space on that side of the string to execute this idea and to show a wide spectrum of width and altering the pitch. If I try and do the same thing on the B string, I've created a sitar. I've totally changed and I've gone off the side of the neck there and it just sounds weird. And that is not what you want to be doing in your blues guitar solos. So you can still apply that same fundamental idea. You can still go down rather than up, but you're going to have to be a little bit more conscious of where you are, where the string is on the neck, so that you don't end up with that. And on the E string, the high E string, I would recommend really thinking about going up rather than down, because your margin for error there is really quite slim. Try this out with all of the fingers on your hand. I think personally for me, the ring finger works well and the first finger works really, really well, because those are quite strong fingers, and within those sorts of kind of phrases which often sort of resolve themselves or focus on those notes, you know, and those types of phrases where you've got the emphasis on those kind of fingers within the shapes, that's where I would place my emphasis and focus if I were you and wanting to create this style and cultivate this style of vibrato in your playing. So give that a go. As always, you don't need to carve out a separate part of your routine to kind of get to grips with these ideas, but start to try and apply it. Start thinking about your vibrato in this different way. Start thinking about all these little different things and that you can change to alter the feel. And if you're into that style of playing, Stevie Ray Vaughan and his more intense songs, Philip Sayce, Dan Patlansky as well, you know, this real driving, intense blues sound, that combined with a bit of speed and some cool overdrive is going to do so much to help you recreate that sound. So good luck, guys. Let me know how you get on. Otherwise, head over to the next video where we're going to look at the vibrato style of Paul Kossoff, British blues player with one of the most distinctive and incredible vibrato techniques of all time. See you soon.